Hello, this is chapter 18, which discusses taxes and who really pays federal taxes. All right, so there was a big debate. This was right around the time when Obama was elected during, if you recall, during that election, and they were talking about how only 53% of Americans actually pay income tax, and how the rich aren't paying enough tax and blah, blah, blah. So we hear that all the time, how the wealthy people seem to have all these magical ways to not pay taxes. That's really not true. The wealthy do pay a lot of tax because we have what's called a progressive tax system. So, a lot of wealthier people, they might not pay taxes at the same rate as us because they don't make their money through wages. And W-2 income or wages are taxed at a higher rate than, say, capital gains taxes, meaning if you have investments, you buy a stock low and you sell high, you're going to pay that rate is a lower tax rate. Or if you have passive income, meaning income from rentals, so to speak, or businesses, you're going to pay tax at a lower rate. So even though the tax rate is lower, they're actually paying more taxes. They pay plenty in taxes. If you take an extreme, I forget the exact number, but let's take an extreme. Elon Musk. Elon Musk is paying billions to the federal government, or billions to the IRS in taxes this year, because he's exercising his stock options. He had stock options with Tesla for $3 a share. Tesla was at around $1,300 when he started exercising his options. So he has hundreds and hundreds, thousands of stock options, paid $3, he's selling it around $1,300. So he's paying, it's in the billions. I forget the exact number. You can look it up if you're interested. But anyway, that's an extreme example. But contrary to what we normally hear, wealthy people are paying plenty in taxes. Okay, so let's look at this. So after you consider deductions, exemptions aren't around anymore. So we used to have, before Trump came into office, we had exemptions. So you could count yourself and your spouse and your kids, every dependent you would get an exemption. That's been eliminated, but we have deductions. So what Trump did was, during the Trump administration, the tax rate was lowered. We already talked about the corporate tax rate. It went from like 33% to 21% during the Trump administration. The individual tax rates all went down by about 2%, but the standard deduction has gone way up. So anyway, after you consider deductions, credits, et cetera, there's the earned income credit, child care credit. Only 53% of Americans actually pay income tax, because the typical family of four, by the time earning a median income, by the time you take out all these credits and deductions and everything, they're not paying any taxes. So literally only a little more than half of us are paying taxes. So let's talk about our tax system. Now, we have what's called a progressive tax system in the US, which means that the tax rate increases as our income increases. This is opposed to a flat tax where everyone pays the same percentage. Now, when this whole debate was going on about how the rich people or wealthy people didn't pay enough tax, Warren Buffett came out because he thought we should increase taxes. I mean, I don't know why, because every economic study shows you that if you increase taxes, that's a disincentive to produce, it's a disincentive to work. But it's more efficient if you decrease taxes, because people will work more, earn more money, and you actually can bring in more tax dollars that way. But anyway, Warren Buffett, if you don't know who Warren Buffett is, he's a famous, he's in his 80s now, maybe even 90s. He is famous. He owns the Berkshire Hathaway fund. It's basically a stock that you can invest in. It's basically a fund that invests in all these different companies. And he has made a fortune just by basically coming from very little and just investing over time into good companies. Anyway, he's a very conservative investor, very well respected in finance. So he came out and said a few years ago, and I used to have this on the homework problems, but I've taken it off since then because I added other questions. But his famous quote is, "My secretary pays more in taxes than I do." So of course, his secretary does not pay more in income tax than he does, but his secretary pays at a higher rate. So he was kind of not telling the truth there, because the secretary has W-2 income. He doesn't. And so the rate is higher. So let me show you what we mean by the tax rates and this progressive system and what he meant by that. All right, so let me try to pull up this other thing here. Okay, this is an Excel spreadsheet that I got off the internet. These are the 2022 tax rates. Okay, so if you look at this, let's go to married. Well, let's do single. So for unmarried individuals, if you're a single filer, the first $10,275 that you earn, you're going to pay 10% on that. So this is what a progressive system means. The more you make, the more you pay. But if somebody says, "Oh, I'm in the 37% tax bracket," which by the way used to be 39% before Trump came in office. If I'm in the 37% tax bracket, that doesn't mean that they're paying 37% on all of their income. It means they're only paying 37% on their income that's above 539.9. So what this means, let's just come back here. So let's take somebody who's single, who earns $42,000 a year. Okay, single and 42,000. That means that they're going to pay 12% on the first 41,775 of taxable income. And then the remaining, if they earn 42,000, the remaining $225 is going to be taxed at 22%. So they're in the 22% tax bracket. That's their marginal rate. That's the rate that they're paying on the last dollar that they earned. But their average tax rate would be much less than 22%, because you take a weighted average of these two. Okay, so when we talk about progressive tax system, it means the more you make, the more you pay, but you're only paying this higher rate, this higher percentage on these rates. Okay, so why did Buffett say my secretary pays more in taxes than I do? Because she pays at a higher rate. She's probably making, I would assume he would be paying her somewhere in this range. So she was paying, at the time he said it, about 26%, as opposed to Warren Buffett, who probably all of his income is from capital gains. So let's go to the capital gains tax rate right here. So capital gains is if you buy a stock or an investment at a certain price, or sell a house too, if beyond there's a $500,000 credit exclusion on your capital gains for property for your primary home. But let's just go back to stocks, because that's easy. If you bought some shares of stock for $100, you sold it for $200, your capital gains is $100 a share, and you're going to have to pay taxes on that. Well, look at this. Now these were lowered also during the Trump administration, but look, the highest capital gains rate is 20%. If you have capital gains you have to have actual profits or capital gains realized, meaning you don't have to pay these taxes until you actually sell the stock or sell the property. So you would have to have capital gains of over $459,750 to actually pay that 20%. You have to have capital. I'm sorry, this is taxable income, not the gain. So I misstated that. Let me back up. So if you're single and you have taxable income that's over this amount, you're going to pay 20%. If you have taxable income that is 41,000 or more, you're going to pay 15%. So most people are going to be in this range. Most people who own stocks, maybe half or so. I don't, I can't say for sure, but you know, a fair number of people are going to be in this range with their taxable income. Because let's say you have a job and you and your spouse are making pretty good money. Your taxable income is over this, and then you have some capital gains. You're going to pay at the 15% tax bracket. So you see the capital gains tax is a lot lower than the tax for earned income. But prior to, if you have taxable income less than this and you're married, or less than this amount and you're single, you don't pay anything on your capital gains. So that's these are pretty good rates. Anyway, that's why wealthier people tend to pay taxes at a lower rate, but overall they're paying more in taxes. All right, so that's the progressive tax system. Now let's go back to the notes and talk about what is a flat tax. All right, so that progressive tax system is viewed as being more equitable to a flat tax. Well, you might ask why, because what's wrong with a flat tax? What if we all paid 50%? It's fair, right? We're all paying 50% tax. Everyone's taxed the same. That's the way it is in England and a lot of the Western European countries. They have much higher taxes than we do, about 50%. Of course, they have socialized medicine. They have longer durations of unemployment. They have a lot more programs than we do. But anyway, let's say everybody had a flat tax rate of 50%. That's really not viewed as being more equitable. It's viewed as being kind of a regressive system. A regressive tax is when lower income people pay more than higher income people. And so the reason the flat tax is viewed as not being as equitable is, think about it this way. Let's say you're making $100,000 a year, 50% tax, you're bringing home 50 grand. You can live okay on 50 grand. You're not happy about it, paying that 50% tax, but you can manage on 50 grand. But what about somebody who's making $30,000 a year? They're only bringing home $15,000, $20,000 a year. They're only bringing home 10. So it seems the flat tax is viewed as being harder on lower income people. All right, so now you know what a progressive tax system is, which is what we have in the US, and things are not as bad as they seem. Of course, the news, the popular media is very negative about everything, it seems, but we really, a lot of people in the lower income brackets don't pay any taxes, and wealthier people do pay more taxes. They're definitely, in my opinion, paying their share. Okay, so that's the chapter on taxes, chapter 18, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.